Hola clase, this is a review video, or in case you were absent, of the Spain map that we did in Unit 1, Spanish 1. And I'm just going to talk through it again, all of the symbols and what the significance of them is, so that you can use this to learn about the different places on the map. So we'll start up here with one of the countries that borders Spain. This is France, Francia in Spanish, and of course the big Eiffel Tower symbol there. This is the border between France and Spain, and these are the Pyrenees Mountains, Los Pirineos, and that's the border. So a very mountainous region. The whole thing's basically a big mountain chain. One of the other countries that borders Spain is sometimes known as the face of the Iberian Peninsula, which is Spain and Portugal. And this is Portugal. I used the fish symbol because this is the Atlantic coast and it's big in the fishing industry. This is where most of the fish for Spain and Portugal comes from, and they also can export it to other places as well. Okay, so big fishing industry here. The other bodies of water that surround Spain are the Cantabrian Sea, which is up here to the north, El Mar Cantábrico. And then over on this side we have the Mediterranean, El Mar Mediterráneo. Okay, so those are the bodies of water that surround Spain and a couple of the countries. And we're going to talk about the cities in Spain now. This first city up at the top is Bilbao, and they have a big iron industry there. Not this type of iron for ironing clothing, but things like iron bars, things that are used in construction. Big iron industry. Over here, nearer the coast, is Barcelona. And the symbol for Barcelona is the Olympic torch. They had the Olympics here in 1992. And Barcelona is also the capital of this region here, which is Catalonia. And in Catalonia, besides speaking Spanish, everyone also speaks Catalan, and the signs are in Catalan also. So when the Olympics were here, it was kind of a big deal as to whether they were going to use Catalan or Spanish when they were talking about things and making announcements in the Olympics. And Spanish won, but the Catalanians were pretty upset about it because they were really proud of their language. Here in the center we have Madrid. This is where all of the roads are measured from, kilometer zero. Okay, so they measure the roads from here. This is also where the kings of Spain are crowned, and they do still have a king of Spain. His name is Juan Carlos. The royal family lives here in Madrid as well. And it's sort of a parliament system the way that England has, with the prime minister and so forth, as well as the monarchy. Okay, down here in the south we have this southern triangle of cities, and they're situated around the river Guadalquivir, which sort of flows this way. And it was the river that Columbus sailed down to get to the sea on his way when he was going to discover America. So this is where he left from. He left from the river Guadalquivir and this town, which is Seville, or Sevilla in Spanish. This is the tower called the Giralda, because there's a weather vane up at the top, and a weather vane is Giralda in Spanish. So this is La Giralda Tower. It's attached to the Cathedral of Seville, which is the third largest in the world. And you can climb up this tower and see all of Seville laid out beneath you, and it's just a beautiful sight. Really cool to see that. So that's a good thing to do if you ever go to Seville. The other two cities here, we have Cordoba, which at one point was the capital of what was called Moorish Spain, which was basically the southern half. The southern half was ruled by the Moors, the northern half was ruled by the Catholics, and the Catholics finally won in it was around the time of Columbus, 1492, and they kicked all of the Moors out of Spain. But before that, this was a big capital of the Moorish part, or the Arabic part of Spain. And this is a picture of the inside of the Mezquita, which is a mosque. You can see all of the pillars have red and white stripes. for alternating stones. Some people think it's supposed to represent a forest of palm trees or something like that, but in any case, it's just spectacular. There's rows and rows and rows of pillars, and it's really beautiful. Unfortunately, in the 1600s, they decided to build a cathedral in the middle of it. That was after this became Catholic Spain again. And so they built this cathedral right smack in the middle of this gorgeous mosque, and they kind of ruined it. But you can still get an idea of what it would have looked like around the edges. And over here we have another Moorish building. This is a picture of the Alhambra, which is a 9th century Moorish palace. Lots of stucco work, reflecting pools and fountains. Small colored tiles. It's a beautiful place, a huge garden that you can see called the Generalife. And it's kind of across the way from Granada. So the city of Granada is sort of on this side of the Sierra Nevada mountains. So you can remember Sierra Nevada, Granada, they both rhyme. And then if you are standing on the top of some of the mountains in Granada, you can see across to the Alhambra, which is kind of on the other side of the valley. Okay, so Granada. Also, there's a lot of gypsies that live in Granada, in caves with whitewash on the walls. So that's kind of another characteristic of this region. Okay, so those are the 3 cities in the south of Spain. And we have a couple more things on the map. We've got some islands. There's actually a series of islands here, but I just put the one symbol. It's a big tourist location. These are the Balearic Islands, Islas Baleares. And so I put the bathing suit and the flippers because a lot of people go here to hang out on the beaches. They're rocky beaches. They're not sandy beaches, but still a big tourist spot. And the other set of islands that belongs to Spain are the Canary Islands, the Islas Canarias. And they're all volcanic in origin, so I kind of gave you an idea of the grouping of the islands here. There's a couple more small ones. And they're all volcanic islands. So we used the volcano for the symbol there. And finally, we've got this camel down at the bottom of the page, kind of looking lost and not as though he belongs anywhere, but maybe in the water. It's not drawn in on your map, but if you follow this browse tool, you can kind of see that I'm sketching out the border of Africa. So this is the African coastline where the camel is probably Tunisia. And from here, the end of Spain, which is Tenerife, they have a lot of the wind-powered electricity here that they collect with the windmills. This whole peninsula is covered with windmills to collect wind energy. And from here across to the African coastline is a very short distance, and it's called the Straits of Gibraltar. And it used to be a big deal in the old days when they had clipper ships and sailing ships to sail around in the Straits of Gibraltar because the Mediterranean was coming this way and the Atlantic was coming this way, and this is where the waves kind of clashed and changed direction, so it was a very rough spot. But nowadays you can take a ferry from Tenerife down to Tangiers on the African coast, and it's a couple of hour ride to take the ferry across. And they do have camels there. So that's Africa, the African coast, and Spain very close together here, not quite bordering each other, but separated only by this Strait of Gibraltar here. Gibraltar is a rock. It's an island that belongs to the English, and it's kind of around the corner here. And they used it in World War II as a base for plane operations and the resistance and so forth. So Straits of Gibraltar, and then Gibraltar's off to the side here. Okay, so that's the review for the Spanish 1, Unit 1 Spain map, and adios.